we are here to bring you everything and anything surrounding Porsche. I'm Mike.
I'm Aaron.
And this is P-Car Talk. So welcome to another podcast here, P-Car Talk. We are on location here at Sebring, and we have a special guest on the show. Want to introduce him. He's the man. He does everything. He is Mr. Action Shot. Like, if you know anything about photography, you know this guy. If you know anything about cars, you know who this guy is. So I'm this hype man right now. I'm just talking about him. It's like, da-da-da-da. Who is it going to be?
Who is it? Who's it going to be?
Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Man, Larry Chen, the man, is on.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Thanks.
It's an honor to have you on, man. It's like, I'm a big fan of what you do. I don't do anything in photography, but just the shots you take, like, encapsulate the moment.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's one of those things where I always say, I'm just a regular car guy like you guys, you know? And the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I have a love for cars. I have a love for racing. Just, for example, last night I was shooting on pit lane during the WEC race, and it started raining.
Yeah.
You know, and it just kind of threw a wrench in all of the teams. Like, there was only 30 minutes left in the race, and then everyone thought that, you know, whatever, the places, that's how they're going to finish, you know? But then once it started pouring, everyone had to pit, and everyone's pulling in. I'm in pit lane, and I'm, like, dodging cars. I'm getting my cameras wet.
You're like, I'm about to get run over.
Yeah.
So much rain.
It was crazy. I've never experienced anything like that. I've shot in pit lane a lot, and I shoot a lot of sports car racing.
Yeah.
But it was just
the
so
chaos.
much excitement, and I got my heart rate up. I just got this adrenaline rush that, I mean, how many people get to experience that? You know, I do my best.
Yeah.
Really, I do my best to kind of capture it, to share it with the world.
You do an outstanding job. You're very humble, and, like, obviously you're like the hottest action photographer out there. If you guys didn't know, you need to go follow him. Like, he is the man. Like, he hosts, if you guys want to learn what he does, he has seminars that he teaches. You need to follow this guy. If you want to follow, like, he's been grinding for years. Like, it's a joke, right? Like, you blew up, like, what, 20, like, you've been grinding for 20 years and you blew up overnight, right? Like, right?
Yeah. I get messages on Instagram on the daily, people asking, hey, what's like that shortcut? You know, what's that overnight thing or 2-week course to get into this thing? I tell them, man, I've been shooting for 14, almost 15 years straight. You know, I've been doing this. When I started, I would just work. I would do whatever I could to earn money, and then I would use that to come to places like Sebring, or go to races, or go to other countries to see that kind of car culture. I spent money out of my own pocket to do that. You know, there's no overnight shortcut to getting into this kind of thing.
It's just all the experience that you have to build, and otherwise you're just never going to get that way. I mean, and that would go back to what you were talking about last night with the rain. You've never experienced that. Just because you've shot this track more than once doesn't mean it's always the same.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, this is my 4th time covering Sebring, the 12-hour race, and I've shot every single major 24-hour race now, right? So I've shot a lot, but this pit lane that they built just for WEC, I've never shot this. No one's shot this because this is the first time it's been done. Because this is not actually a pit lane. This is just a temporary
something
thing
they made for that specific race.
Yeah, it's just the back straight, and then they just kind of formed it into a pit lane.
Yeah.
So, like, it's so unique, and it's a new experience for me. It's a new experience for all the photographers and videographers. So that's what just made it special.
Plus, it's like combat, right? It's like tight quarters in there, too, right? Like, everybody's, like, dodging, like you said, like, jumping around, looking at it, like, oh, my God, I almost got ran over. Like, yeah, but, I mean, Larry's just an amazing photographer. We appreciate him spending some time with us. And, like, a lot of guys that maybe don't know him, he is a P-Car guy, too, right? He's got a 996 turbo. And he had one before it was fashionably to get one, you know, oh, that's bang for value, you know, like, talk to us a little bit about that. Like, why did you pick that car? Like, what made you pick that flavor?
So the story with that is, I feel like the 996 Turbo, and I'm sure you guys probably agree with me, it's the last Porsche that you can really, really modify and not to feel too bad about it. You know, you can actually change things, you know, and really push the power limit and handling and all that, and you might not even want to return it back to stock. You know, because it's cooler and it's better once you kind of mess with it. Versus a lot of the newer cars, obviously you can't even look at the engine bay.
Yeah, right.
You know, so
very
it's just
true.
a plastic fan shroud, right?
Exactly.
What the hell am I supposed to do with that?
So honestly, I'm a big Nissan guy. I'm a big car guy in general. You know, I have Toyotas, I have Nissans.
Yeah, you got a sick 240.
Yeah, and I actually picked up a R32 GTR.
I saw that too.
So, I'm a lover of cars, and I really like, for example, like the R34 GTR. I would love one, and you know that's not available to us. But what is available is R35, right? Which is the newer GTR.
Yep.
I couldn't drive that because it's not stick. Yeah. It's automatic. Which is cool, you know, it's faster, but I'm not a racing driver. You know, I'm just trying to have fun going down the block.
Yeah. You want the feels, right?
Yeah, I want the feels. So, in my eyes, I feel like the 996 Turbo is the best replacement or equivalent of something like a R34.
That's
you know, it's manual, it's twin turbo, it's 6-cylinder.
It's
but
a beast,
also,
right?
for me, at the time, it was affordable versus, you know, the 997 Turbo. But also, like I said, I can modify it. I have to modify my cars.
I'm the same way.
I can't leave them alone.
There's nothing I own is stock.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing.
So, and I have a lot of friends that have 996 turbos, and we kind of you know bounce back and forth with that whole like, oh, it's kind of ugly, but it's not. Whatever, you know. My license plate is egg runny.
Nice.
It's kind of just a funny thing, you know.
Yeah,
I actually like
play fun with yourself. Like just be like, dude, whatever.
Exactly.
Like,
so I kind of fell in love with it because just seeing what Roof did with it with the R Turbo.
Yes.
Yep.
You know, so I kind of built mine inspired from that. You know, with the wheels, I got some HRE wheels that kind of look like the
those
that whole look
gorgeous
that they
too, by the way.
Roof built out. But yeah, it's just so much fun. It's so much fun to drive.
Yeah.
It spins all 4 tires in first gear.
That's insane.
It's so fun.
As it should.
Yeah, I mean, it's a
monster, huh?
Yeah, people just don't realize how fast something like that is. Really, that's the whole. You don't really understand horsepower unless you have it. You know, you don't really appreciate slower cars until you've had a car with too much horsepower.
Yeah,
because I can't. When I drive it, I scare myself. You know, so when I drive something like my Z, I can floor it all the time.
Yeah.
And that has 300 horsepower, which is still really fast for a
That's
car
super
that
light
weighs,
car. Yeah,
that weighs 2150.
Super light car.
Yeah, but with the 996, it's just it just puts power to the ground.
Once it's well engineered, then that's where it's at, and that's why you feel it doesn't matter at horsepower level. You get to use every bit of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
I just think it's interesting too because like. I think we have similar backgrounds without even conversating, like as far as car scene stuff. I grew up in the JDM car scene, you know, and I think that, and I'm referring back to like, you have to modify everything. Like my Porsche is highly modified. My 964 is, you know, some would say it's slammed. I mean, you can't put your finger under it, but it's not though, right? It can go on track. It doesn't rub. It goes on track. So it's almost kind of like, and I talked to Drew from 911 Cooled about this a lot too. Him and I are like good buds, and we're like, I think a lot of us, and it's a generational thing almost, right? Like a lot of us are JDM boys or Volkswagen guys or whatever, you know, it couldn't keep it stock. Like you know, the ride height's got to go. Like, no way. I'm not safari moding this car. Like, we got to get some, you know, like a more aggressive stance. We got to get some exhaust. We got to get some wheels here. Like, we all have to tinker with stuff. And like you said, like we're all kind of car guys. But I think it's interesting that you say that because I think a lot of guys are in our group when we grew up, you know, the cars that we could afford were those Hondas or those things that we could do. And that's all we could afford, you know, and that's what we modified. And like now that we're older and doing a little bit better in life, and thankfully so, like we're all thankful, but we've carried those roots over, right? Like into those cars that we're getting.
For sure. And you're making it your own. You know, you're not ruining something. You're improving on it, but you're also personalizing it for yourself. But I mean, we all, since we're kind of in the know, we can do it tastefully.
Yep.
You know, and it's cool that other people appreciate what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, a lot of people hate the whole RWB scene, and like when it gets to that kind of extreme, a lot of people like to hate on that. And you've seen that kit on the 997 where it looks like a flat nose. Yeah,
yeah.
Like people hate on that, but for me, you're turning this probably not so interesting car, a 997, whatever. It could,
where they ripped off like 150,000 models of it, right?
Yeah. It could have, and then for example with our whole RWB thing, a lot of these cars start out as automatic, whatever. You know,
exactly.
It's just something not so special, and if it just sits there, it's not doing anything. But because all of this attention went into building this car, it's become something more special. It's become something more valuable, more unique, and the whole look comes from racing.
Yep.
Which is super cool, which I really enjoy.
And we try to educate people that all the time that have no idea, because and you know, there's a lot of people that listen to this that are, you know, the next generation or, you know, the baby boomers, and we're not hating on that, but what we're just saying is like what Larry's saying, Nakai, that was race inspired. Like he wanted a wider track for the track that he raced at, so he cut the fenders off and put wider tires on. And in Japan, that if you guys don't know, your fenders have to cover your wheels or your car's not legal. Yeah. So he was driving his cars to the track, so they needed to be legal. So that's where all that came from. And like what Larry said, and we're passionate about that too, we're all motorsport guys at the end of the day. And that's where that was birthed from, that fire of motorsport.
Yeah, so to kind of push that point, he invites his friends and a lot of the RWB owners out every single year. And he invited me out one year to race a 12-hour race at Twin Ring Motegi Raceway in Japan, and we just drive his personal RWB cars.
That's got to be crazy.
Yeah, and
how generous too, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I had a chance to do 4 stints. My longest stint was 45 minutes in a 964 RWB car.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I drove like the sunset to night stint, and it was pretty much one of those times
a
where
life-changing experience.
where like I'm going down the front straight.
And you're like, this is happening.
And I'm hearing all the marbles hit the car as I'm going. And I just take this breath and I'm like, this is my job. Like I'm legit racing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
like,
about 100 cars.
And I'm in Japan.
Yeah, and I'm in Japan.
Like, how did I get here? How is this happening? Like,
but with that said, like he does that every year to kind of show that it's performance first. You know, so we drove from his shop to the racetrack on Victor Racers, Kumar Victor Racers, and we drove 12 hours and then drove back on the same tires.
So bad.
Nice.
Yeah. And this is what's crazy, what people don't realize, how cool he is and how considerate he is. Around his shop is residential. So when we're all pulling the cars in, we would all floor it like really far away to get up to speed and then turn off the cars and roll all the way into his shop, just so we don't wake up his neighbors.
That's so
really
cool.
Yeah, so
good for him.
This guy, he's like what's good about car culture.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. And, you know, I agree to support, like, there's a lot of people that don't understand, you know, there's a lot of, like, hate, because I think it comes from, like, not enough knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, they see the car, and they maybe see the person driving the car and what they're using that car for, and they're just like, oh, whatever, this is some rich kid, like, trying to show the car. You know,
it's an assumption to show off versus what it actually is, and it's purposeful.
Yeah. And exactly, and I think it's all motorsport at the end of the day, and like, and we try to preach it's all love. Like, why is there any like barrier between somebody who wants to mod a 996 or doesn't want to mod one, or want to build an RWB car who doesn't want to build one? Like, the community's so small, like, we should all be supporting each other.
Yeah, because it's all your taste at the end of the day, and what's art to you.
Yeah, and why are you not allowed to do something and he is another person, and that person is being chastised for doing what they did to the car as opposed to someone else, right? Like there's just no place for that,
Yep.
right?
Should just be love all around. Back on the Kramer car, the slant nose cars, you were at the Nürburgring recently. I don't know if you had seen any racing, but Kramer actually runs a 997 in that full body with slant nose. It looks deceptive too, because you see it at first and you're like, is that an old car running with the rest of this VLN race? And then I didn't know that until I looked it up. I was like, oh, that's a 997. That's pretty crazy.
Cool. Super cool.
I want to circle back a little bit because you touched on Roof, and you went on a special trip out to Roof with the Hoonigans, and you guys got to run some cars. How did that trip happen, and what was that experience? Can you describe that experience? How did all that take place?
Yeah, that was another pinch me, I'm dreaming moment. Roof, I grew up. A lot of people grew up playing Gran Turismo, know, and that's how I learned about Roof.
Yep. Yeah, because Porsche wouldn't license their
Porsche license.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Exactly. So with that said, then we get to see the first viral car video kind of thing. The yellow bird running the Nürburgring. Much like you like, what car videos were there before that? That was
I think
nothing.
that was probably the original.
Yeah, that was
exactly.
like the OG.
I mean, and then it's like they use all these crazy.
He's like the OG Hoonigan, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Dudes in socks.
Yeah. And then you have like these old, like the GoPro before GoPro.
Yeah, exactly,
angles,
right.
Which were just so cool.
It was like gangster, like 80s type stuff. They're like, how'd you do this?
Somebody was hustling a helicopter on that track.
Oh yeah. But that's the thing. So it started with my show on the Hoonigan channel, which is autofocus, right?
Which is badass, by the way.
Thank you so much. So now we've transitioned into actually having a full-on channel. So it'll be the autofocus channel, and all my stuff is going to go on there.
Okay.
But before that, we just kind of put all the shows on the main channel, which has over 2 million subscribers.
Yeah.
But one of the episodes was actually us visiting Roof, and Estonia took us around, showed us, the whole operation, and while they were building cars there.
That's so
it's just so cool that town is like their place. And to go from building to building, you have to cross the street, and it's just something else. Mr. Roof was born just next door to the main shop.
That's crazy.
And it's just like hollowed Porsche ground, right? Like they're.
When you got there, did you just feel like the air was a little different?
It was really tough for me, because a lot of times people say that if you're taking pictures and if you're taking videos of something, it's almost like you don't really remember it because you're not experiencing it.
You're not
for
in
yourself.
the moment, right?
Yeah, you're not in the moment. You're just so focused on capturing. I definitely spent some time to like not shoot and kind of just soak in.
Just
the
take it
moment.
in.
Yeah.
Good for you, though. That was probably challenging being a photographer by trade, to not instantly want to start like, oh my God, this guy's working on this right now. I need to shoot that. That's like a gangster shot. Like,
well, I'll tell you what, it does make me a little upset when I think about it, because I just think about the shots that I actually missed, which I could picture them. I could picture them in my head, which ones I missed. But I did have a chance to ride with Estonia as she drove me around her personal 356, just around the German countryside. And she's just like flooring that thing. And we're just, wind in the hair and all that. It looked
like heaven when you were out there, and just watching you drive the one car, your faces and the reaction, it was so genuine. You're just I'm just driving. You're just like, this is happening.
My buddy Vinny, who went on the trip with me, he really liked the SCR, the 4.25 liter natural aspirated one, and of course the CTR2. He really liked that. Is that the CTR2? The new one, the yellow.
The new one, the
new Yellowbird.
Yeah. He really liked the new Yellowbird, but for me, that 993 was what really spoke to me, just because it just had the most pleasant turbo lag, if that makes any sense.
Oh, total sense.
It's like flooring it twice. You floor it and it's like, it's pretty cool. And then when the actual turbos kick in, there's just nothing like it, because it's not even that it has that much power. because I feel like I've driven a lot of cars with a lot more power, but it just puts it down. Plus, the car is lightweight.
Yeah.
It is so lightweight. It's
just nimble as all get out.
Well, there's no replacement for lightweight and then a well set up car. And if it's a linear turbo,
it's like that moment.
It just works.
What is that in like Star Wars when like the stars start to go by?
The thing is, and to think that was out in 1997, I could not imagine what someone was thinking when they're driving that thing.
Oh,
it had to be sped up. It had to be.
Yeah,
they're just like, I'm an alien right now. This is insane. There was like,
I couldn't. I don't know. And it was like a brand new car too. Still, interior was so nice. Nothing rattled. Everything was clean, and that's kind of like their style. You know, it's not over the top. While I really appreciate the way Singer builds their cars, it's so the material is so plush and everything feels so good and it's pleasant looking. The roof style, I noticed it's a lot more simple and a lot more OEM.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, it's not better or worse. It's just their style, and
different flavor.
I can appreciate both.
Yeah.
You know, being having photographed both like both type of cars.
Yeah.
Really closely. It's just a different way to experience it. And like, for example, on the new Yellowbird, like what you don't realize is you can actually see the floor as carbon. You know, you have the carpet, or you have the floor mat, but underneath the floor mat, it's all carbon.
All carbon tone.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah. It's just that kind of, it's not a detail. It's not like they did it on purpose.
Yeah.
It's just the car.
It's just functionality.
Yeah,
that's just what it is. It's just race car, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's cool though that you say that, because like those cars are on both next levels, but it's almost like personality types, right? Like what fits your personality mode? Like, are you more kind of like OEM plus? Are you or more a boutique guy, you know, with quilted leather and all that kind of other stuff? Like, and like you said, perfectly said, there's no right or wrong way. It's just what's your personality.
Yeah, because you're still going to stand out with either car.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like the whole Singer thing, which I photographed the ones where they have a very finished engine bay, where they put like leather in the engine bay, right? Yeah, and for example, on one of those cars, just the leather alone was $40,000.
Oh my god!
And so, and
some precious cows.
Yeah, probably $10,000 of that was in the engine bay. You know, so
and you're just like, what?
I appreciate that. I think that's cool. You know. Is it gonna make
next level, right?
Yeah, is it gonna make you go faster? No, but it's really, really cool, and I'm so glad that they did it just to kind of show that they could do it.
That's a good point. Now, how many people went on that trip with you guys? Was it just you and Vinny, or was there more?
So it was me, Vinny, our producers, and just like kind of a smaller production. But
was that like an invite? Like, did they invite you guys out? Like, how did that go down? If you don't mind talking about, if you can talk about it.
I reached out to the guys here in the U.S. that do a lot of the roof PR. The guys at Con Media, my buddy Corey, who's really good friends with those guys. So then I just pitched them the idea, like, hey, I'm doing the show, autofocus. You know, it's me enjoying cars, car culture, and photographing them.
Nice.
You know. So he's like, yeah, I think they would be interested in it. And that's the thing, is they're into such new ideas. Roof.
Yeah.
They're just all about it. I mean, because they created that kind of first viral video thing, and plus because a lot of the new generation knows about them from video games. I mean, they're just always so new age and so cutting edge. So when they hear like, hey, this YouTube show wants to come by, they're like,
they're about it.
Of course. You know, let's just come by. You can drive all these priceless cars.
Which is so cool too, right?
Yeah.
To just be that like
cool.
open about it. And like some places, you know, obviously we're not going to name names, but like if they build these like $400,000 or $500,000 cars, who's going to be that open to say like, hey, come in and film. Dude, come rip on them. That's what they're for. Like,
because they might get a real review after that, you know.
So that's the thing is, Alos's son was kind of leading us through these backcountry roads, and I'm like scared. I'm like, I don't want to drive that fast. This guy's going like 250 or he's like going as fast as the car will possibly allow it to go. And I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna keep up with this guy. This guy's insane.
You're like, I don't want to be responsible for what happens at this thing.
It's not actually. I mean, and those roads aren't 2-lane roads like we experience. It's like a single lane road that 2 cars kind of travel on.
Yeah.
And it gets.
It's even smaller than a B lane. It's not a B road. It's like a C road, right?
Exactly. But I mean, they own that town pretty much, you know. So everyone knows them, and we just go to their spot that they like to go to drive. And also, we ate at this small restaurant that they like to stop at. And it was just something else. It was just that.
It probably felt like
experience.
real family, right?
Yeah.
Like real, like close, like everything's just kind of real tight, because that's what I gathered from your video. And it just seemed like they were so open and welcome to you guys, and so accommodating, and like just so nice, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we show up, you know, and all the cars are out there, including that original Yellowbird, the one in the video.
The one.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I just see all of them out there, and then they're like, "Hey, let's go driving." And I think, oh, they're gonna let us drive one car, or, you know, whatever.
Or you're gonna get shotgun or something.
Or you can go for a ride.
Yeah, or I'll go for a ride. But they literally let us drive every single car except for the original Yellowbird, which I don't even want to touch, honestly. That thing is
gotta
priceless.
be priceless. Yeah.
Oh,
it's
exactly.
priceless. Yeah.
You don't even want to like move the dirt off of it, right?
Exactly.
Like you're like, I don't want to
Sealed.
screw that up.
Yeah, it's like one of those museum cars, like for example, like the 959.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
That rally car. You don't want to touch it.
Preserved.
It's
Exactly.
just dirty.
Yeah. Don't mess with it. It's
Yep.
like you took a speck of dirt off. That was like $100,000.
That's original Nürburgring track. We gotta leave that there.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, like those are tires from that. What a great experience though, but like kudos to Roof and being so open, and like we all love what they do, and like how cool is that to be so accommodating and so open to new ideas, and for them, like you said, like I think that describes them perfectly, cutting edge, right? Like everybody always thinks they're like, oh, they're just a Porsche modifier. No, they're not.
No, it's
Are
like
you kidding me right now?
they
Like,
take the bits that they like of Porsche and then they just breathe on them ever so slightly to make a roof.
yeah.
Well, the bits,
Yeah.
meaning the shape.
Yeah.
You know, when we actually walked in and saw the bare chassis that they're creating from scratch, it's a bunch of these carbon tubs that actually remind me of like the McLaren MP4 tub.
That's
you know,
exactly
that's what it looks like.
That's exactly what I thought of when I saw that video, and I was like, "This is like next level technology," and this is a boutique shop doing it.
Yeah. So the fact that they're starting from scratch there, there's Porsche parts, but it's more like just that inspired shape.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is so cool that they have that kind of relationship. But then you go across the street, they have their own dealership where they service normal cars, and also where they restore things from whatever 901s, 356s.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything that you bring to them, they will restore. And if you can't find a part for it, they'll hand make it. Like literally just hand make these metal parts.
I was seeing some of that hand tooling, and I was like,
Yeah, your video
mean,
was showing some. They're like,
that's
this guy
crazy.
just literally made this part because he just needed it for this car.
Exactly.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah.
No one does that. It's usually like people getting on the phone, like call the parts manager. You're like, hey, go find me this part. It's like, I made 20 phone calls. I can't find it. Okay, well, find somebody who can get it, right? And there's like, the dude's like from the bench just walks over, he starts milling it and starts making it. It's like...
And as for how old school they are, I mean, they do 3D printing, so like all this carbon stuff, you know, it's cutting edge, but also they're mixing it with this old school.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Which is super cool.
that seems like they're holding on to their history and their story, but yet also modernizing at the same time. That's really cool.
Exactly. And for them, you know, it's just their job to continue their legacy. And, you know, with the Gran Turismo thing, that built a whole new fan base. Who knows, with all these internet videos, you know, that may help build the next generation fan base.
That's true. I mean, a good thing you brought up the Gran Turismo, because I didn't think about that until you started. Sounds like, oh yeah, that's where I know them originally from.
Yeah, I think that's our generation. We're all part of roughly around the same age. Is the same thing. Like that's honestly like, you know, the cliche story of like, you know, oh, I had a Porsche on the wall when I was a kid, but like we played video games, right? We played PlayStation, and when you play those things and you're like, dude, that's a Porsche, but it says roof. Like that doesn't make it. What the hell is that? Like,
yeah, and then you read the little description that's like whatever, however many characters, 100 characters long.
Exactly.
Like that's the whole history of that.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's like, wow, this car's really fast. You're like, it's got a lot of turbo boost. But yeah, what an amazing experience, and like thankful for the like that the Porsche community is that tight where they open their doors to you, and that great stuff and like let you guys experience all of that just based off of like, hey, this is something I want to do and this is something I'm interested in, and they're like, well, come on down, this is awesome. But super cool about that. Let's talk a little bit, like, obviously about your I guess kind of, what do you want to call it, your seminars that you host. I know one just kind of filled up. We were kind of just spitballing, maybe some might do one in the South eventually sometime. Like, what exactly does that entail? What do people get when they go to those things? Like, what are they going to learn from you? Take us through a Cliff Notes version of that.
So these workshops that I'm actually doing, I'm not doing it to make money. Mm-hmm. What people don't understand is it's hard to make money from individuals. I'm not trying to make money from these people signing up. Pretty much all the money that these people put in to go to these workshops, I'm actually using for the workshops, which is to pay for the venue, catering, whatever. But the thing is, I try my best to make it a whole experience. I make sure it's always good food, good people, and the best cars. The point is that you can come to the workshop and then you can make pretty pictures and you can actually learn how to take pictures, but it's more so about the access.
Okay.
So I've done 4 so far with Canon USA, which they're a great partner because the whole thing that they bring cameras and they bring lenses and they bring all this professional equipment, hundreds of thousands of dollars
worth of awesome
equipment. And sometimes they crate in like a real professional printer.
Stuff people
on a
probably
pallet.
Wow.
That's so cool. For example, we did the thermal club with your buddy Drew, actually, who signed up, and it's just about that experience. It's a private club. You can't just show up and photograph the cars.
Exactly.
And on top of that, we brought in cars. Like my friends at McLaren, they let me use like a 720 and
Twerk Stallion was there.
Yeah, Twerk Stallion was there. Shout out to you, Hurt.
Yeah. What's up, Hurt?
Exactly. But it's one of those things where it's about photographing cars and just kind of enjoying that culture. I kind of want to give people a little bit of that preview of what I do on a daily basis, including the fatigue. Right, so I push
That's
these people.
That's a great point. Good. Yeah. I'm glad you're bringing that up. I don't want to interrupt you, but continue.
Yeah, I push these people to photograph from sunrise to sunset. And you don't put your camera down unless you're eating. And then once you're done eating, you pick up your camera again and you start shooting again. I want you to run out of batteries. I want you to run out of memory cards.
Yeah.
That's the point. Yeah. The one that we have coming up, actually, so the last 2 that I did one at Magnus Walker's garage,
which I almost signed up for too. I was close. I was like, I just couldn't make it out to LA.
Yeah, no, that one was a lot of fun because he let us use his place and all of his cars.
That's cool. That's
really
cool.
generous.
I've driven his cars before, but not like, just move
whatever you want to
do. Yeah. So it was awesome. It was absolutely epic.
Yeah.
And plus, I brought a bunch of JDM cars. My friends brought a lot of their old school JDM cars because that way, you just kind of get a mix of cars to shoot. And on top of that, Canon's lead instructor, John Lawrence, he brought a couple professional models. So he works in that world.
Oh, that's cool.
He's the official photographer for the LA Galaxy soccer team. Yeah. But on the side, he also shoots a lot of professional models. So we call it Cars and Couture, because you're shooting these professional models. It kind of pushes these regular people off the street really to outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah, to pose them and get ready to get on the car, tell them what to do.
Exactly.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's really cool that you're doing this with cars, because I often looked it up before as doing a little bit of photography myself, as there's no one really out there going, let's do car photography. You can look at, you can do studio, you can do everything else, but that's a really cool way that you're introducing it, and especially with the access to the venues and the models and the gear.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing is, a lot of their, not to knock on their other workshops, a lot of their workshops are like, hey, flower photography or landscape or wildlife photography. That's really fun too, and I would love to do those workshops myself actually to learn more about that. But it's just a different feeling, I guess, with cars. I don't know.
Well, it's about passion, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to, if you're a car guy and you're a photographer, that's where your passion is at, right?
It just kind of makes sense because every time I go to a racetrack, every time I go to a car show, there's just so many guys that are interested in shooting, and they maybe just need that extra step to kind of really get into it, you know? But that's like the takeaway for most people is they bring, even if it's just their phone, you know, they just want to snap a couple of pictures of these cool cars, and then they want to keep it for themselves, you know? This is, I think that's super cool. And so we're kind of capitalizing on that. I mean, because what Canon sells to wedding photographers and just your everyday mom, you know, shooting their kids or whatever. But car photographers, what people don't realize is it's actually a really big market. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's great that you're providing that. And like you said, you're investing a lot of that money back into what everybody's getting out of it. And it's like you're sharing all this knowledge and all the stuff that you've grind all these years. And you're helping all of these up-and-comers or somebody who's interested in photography that, like you said, to maybe just need that little bit of push off the edge. Just say, dude, you don't have to be afraid. Like, it's okay. You can do it. Like, you know, you can do this, and I can help you, like, learn and educate you a little bit about how to frame something properly or how to shoot it properly with some lighting or a different angle. And I think that's great. Somebody with your experience that's putting back into the community like that. I mean, that's a huge kudos to you because you are a busy man as is. You don't have to do that. Like
you do a couple things here and there, I'm sure.
I mean, to be fair, to rewind to like what he said when he wants to put fatigue on people, like total transparency. I've been hounding him all day long to get him on the podcast while he's trying to do his thing and shoot like what he does for a living. And like I've been bugging him. That's how busy he is. And he's already at that next level. So for the guys that are aspiring to be that, like, he puts the work in. Like, he's doing it day in and day out. Not only is he trying to teach you that at these workshops, he's doing it. Like, that's what it takes, right?
Seeing you a little taste of what he goes through. I'm sure it's a quarter of what you actually do.
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably just dead tired all the time.
I've heard, like, crazy things, like, and, you know, you don't have to confirm or deny neither. There's, like, I've heard, like, at certain races, you shoot, like, 35,000 shots, like, at certain races. Like, I mean, I can't even, like, I'm not a photographer, but, like, I understand numbers. Like, that's ridiculous. That's an enormous amount.
Yeah, and, I mean, for me, I guess, I'm trying to think. I think this race so far, I've shot 25,000, just myself.
And we're not even at the night portion yet, guys.
Exactly.
It's so easy. Oh, well, I mean, throughout the whole week.
Yeah.
But it's so easy just because of the technology we have right now, you know. But it's not that... I'm just making so many attempts at these very far off shots, you know, that these shots, they just wouldn't be able to exist before digital cameras because you just physically couldn't have enough film to try out these things.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so experimental.
Yeah, you're sitting in the dark room trying to do stuff, and it's like,
Nah,
I just wasted like 1,000 pictures. I'm broke.
I thought it was sharp. It's soft.
Yeah. But the thing is, I'm very candid about telling people, like, hey, I'm not the best. I just kind of put in more time, and then I just spend so much time trackside. I spend so much time in the pits, and I just make all these attempts over and over and over at the shot that I'm looking for. You know, I could shoot 1,000 shots, and if I get one, I'll be happy. But most people don't know that I took 1,000 attempts at it. Most people just see that I just posted this one shot.
Yeah, they see the final
product. It looks amazing.
Yeah. But that's kind of the part of the process now, right? You know, I just don't... Some people do have that eye, and some people have that talent, that raw talent, that they can go out there, take 10 shots, and then 2 or 3 of them are good.
Yeah.
It's just not the way I work.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm using that technology to my advantage. And I'm using the lenses... I'm using the camera bodies to my advantage to kind of create that picture.
But I think it's smart, too, because I think, you know, not to, like, shit on anybody's, like, raw talent, but the fact that to not use all the tools that are available to you, and maybe how many shots did that person, like you're describing, maybe they took 10 shots and 3 of them are good. How many did they leave on the table? Right?
What did you miss? What do you regret?
Yeah. And, you know, I could imagine, you know, you could correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not in your profession, but I could see that playing a head game with yourself when you're out there and you're shooting. You're like, okay, I need to shoot some more, because even though you have some good stuff in the bank already, you don't want to leave because you're afraid you might leave something out there, right?
Oh yeah, and that's the thing is, between myself and all my peers that shoot these kind of things, we push ourselves so bad, and we're so hard on each other, or on ourselves. When we miss things, we're so hard on each other, or like, for example, if there's like a incident, a crash, or whatever.
Yeah.
If we miss something like that, I don't know, we just take it personally.
Yeah. You're like, I screw that all up.
And the thing is, it's not any extra monetary value that we miss. It's just kind of a personal.
Yeah.
I could have gotten this and I didn't.
Well, I think it's wanting to be like good in your craft, right?
Yeah,
like I think it's just a competitive nature of you wanting to be like to have that moment, to be like, I captured that moment.
Yeah.
I did that, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's pride in what you do.
Yep.
Yeah. And the thing is, I'm so glad now more than ever, because of platforms like Instagram, people actually can appreciate it just on that higher level. People, it's almost like everyone just is a photographer on their own, just to kind of show their life or show what they're doing in the best light. So in a way we have an advantage, because that's just what we do day in day out, to take pictures. So it's been really nice to kind of enjoy that. With the whole Instagram path.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, we've taken a lot of Larry's time, so let's just wrap up. Where can we all find you, Larry? Let's hear everything where we can find you on. You're obviously on Instagram. What's your handle on there?
Yeah, so on Instagram, just search Larry Chen, and you can find me on the Hoonigan channels. Across all of their channels, they have quite a few channels.
Yeah, we've seen you a lot on there.
So I just kind of pop in and out.
Do a burnout, bro.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, a lot of people call me the more professional Hoonigan, because I don't jump cars. I don't.
The gentleman Hoonigan.
Yeah. But I like to mess around with cars too. But the point is,
you have the good copy. You're like, I gotta get the photo, dude. I can't.
Exactly.
I can't do
pictures.
I can't do a burnout. Like, I can't jump that car. I gotta get you jumping the car.
Believe me, I would love to jump the car. But,
that's a good back out
pictures.
though, right? You're like, I gotta be behind the camera. You guys get wild.
Exactly. So you can find me on the Hoonigan channels, and then of course I'm gonna start my own YouTube channel with the Hoonigan guys, called Autofocus with Larry Chen.
Okay, and that's gonna be on YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, and. Just kind of a note to your listeners, every single one of my photos on my website, which is larrychenphoto.com, is available for download for free. Every photo's in 4K.
How sick is that, guys?
Yeah. New wallpapers coming.
Exactly, new wallpapers for everyone.
Yeah. All wallpaper for days, every day of the week. Like, how gangster is that? Like, this guy's out here grinding. He gives stuff away for free on his site. Like, how awesome is that?
Just look up some of those Pike Peak pictures. They're mind blowing.
Yeah, and just to give you a little bit of background before we cut out, it's been raining nonstop. The weather's kind of sucked on and off today, and Larry's out here grinding. He looked like he got beat up by a baseball bat when he picked up. I was like,
he looked a little scared.
I was like, oh man, Larry looks pissed.
Well, it's a funny story. Before you guys picked me up, I had to go to the race shop and buy OMP Nomex socks because I ran out of socks. So all my socks are wet.
Yeah.
So now I have some nice OMP
just
socks
to give you guys free photos.
Yeah, warm socks. Who knew?
Yeah. His own expense. But seriously, thank you so much, Larry, for coming on the show. If you guys don't follow him, you guys are missing out on quality, top-grade photos. Please check him out. Please check the Hoonigans out. Thank you so much for coming on PCAR.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of PCAR Talk. Connect with us on Instagram at PCAR Talk or online at pcartalk.com.